Welcome, 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 welcome. Super excited. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. This is your favorite Facebook show that is on these internet streets, Thriving Thursdays. I am here with my two co hosts, the beautiful, the elegant, the extraordinary Jenny King, and your favorite author, evangelist, missionary. She is all the things, Fabiana Anderson. And we have a special show for you tonight that we will be talking to A.B. Bracewell, an amazing, amazing, amazing author, teacher. I would like to call him a teacher. I don't know if he proclaims that or any, but I love the way that he speaks about relationships. I love the mutuality. I love his book. If you don't have his book, I'm sure he's going to tell you where to go get it and how to get it. Ready for Relationships. It is one of the best books that I have read, and I've actually read a little bit of it live, and I'm going to get back to that because I want to read more live and I want to do more of that. But I want you to put your hands together in the chat and give a round of applause for A.B. Bracewell. Woo!
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Jen and Fabian. I truly appreciate being invited on the show. It's an honor and a privilege. Especially with the topic that we're talking about is near and dear to my heart. So,
Awesome.
appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Is there anybody you want to shout out before we get started?
As far as shout out, being that it's about fatherhood, I'm gonna shout out my son.
That's right.
Shout out JB and love you always. You know,
How old is your son?
he's 12. He's 12. He's
Wow.
about to be a teenager soon. So
Oh wow.
he's
So
getting
the
old.
last little preteen stage, huh?
Yeah. He's about to go through some changes in his lifetime, hitting puberty and all that good stuff. So this is gonna be a real formative time of his life. So I'm looking forward to it. I know
Awesome,
he is
awesome,
too.
awesome, awesome. Super excited to have you on the show today. We will have him give a 10-minute presentation, and then we're going to come back with question and answers, and we're going to let him have his way. Come in your own way, AB.
Oh, okay. Well, once again, just thank you for having me being a part of the show. And tonight we're talking about fatherhood. And I was asked to specifically speak about the love of a father. So as I thought about this topic, love of a father, I start to think of different ways that we often describe fathers or fatherhood, different words that we use. The words that came to my mind were like strong, provider, protector. We often use words like leader, a disciplinary, a hard worker. We might describe a father as a good man, stoic, a person that sets the tone in the family or and with his children. But one word that we don't often hear used when we talk about father and fatherhood is loving. And I was really curious on why that word isn't often described when we're describing fatherhood or when we're talking about a father. Like even if we think about like the messages that we hear on Father's Day at church, whenever they're talking about the love of the Father, the pastor is often talking about our heavenly Father. He's not. It's very rare that we talk about the love of earthly fathers. Sometimes we act like it doesn't exist, or is just is rare. You know, so even thinking about what I was going to talk about when it comes to this topic was a bit of a challenge to me because we don't often express our love as fathers. We don't often talk about our love as fathers. But what we do as fathers, we show our love. So when I thought about the words that I previously spoke about, like a protector, a provider, a leader, someone that set the tone, that made me understand and kind of rethink of love of a father, because that is how a father actually shows his love. That's how our love is manifested. And kind of just like God, our love is multifaceted. It comes in all different types of forms and all types of ways. And I think we often misunderstand a father's love because it doesn't always look like what we expect love to look and feel like. It's not always warm and cuddly. It's not always, you know, candy canes and rainbows. Sometimes a father's love can be tough, but it's also those things that I described as far as a protector. So when I think about a father's love, that's the first thing that really comes to my mind. A father love is protective, is protecting. And a father protects us against all types of things, protects us against hurt, harm, and danger, whether it's physical, whether it's emotional, or even whether it's psychological. Now, if we can remember when we was little and we fall, we hurt ourselves, who came to pick us up? Our father. That was just an expression, a display of his love. Another way a father protects us with his love is that he offers us guidance and advice. He clears the path for us in many ways. So when we have to go through the same path, it's not as rough, it's not as cluttered, and it's easier for us to walk through. I mean, but also with a father's love, he may allow us to make some mistakes, some small mistakes. So as we get older and as we grow, the mistakes we learn from those mistakes and the mistakes that we make later on in life aren't as catastrophic. And some of that stuff may not feel warm and fuzzy. It may not feel good. It may not be what we often hear love is in the fairy tales and in the Disney movies. But that's a way fathers love us. They protect us. Now, if you ever seen someone that has not felt that protective love as a father, it's easily identified. Um, like Andrea said, I like to talk about relationships as well. And when it comes to relationships, I can easily tell when a person has not experienced that protective love of a father. In women, it shows up with some insecurities. It may shows up that they have their guard up because they had to go through this world without the protection of their dad. So yes, their guard is up. They have to face all these dangers without the protective hands of a father, and it also shows up in men when you see a man that had not experienced that protective love of a father, he's a man that's probably very careless with his behaviors, careless with the way he does things in relationships, and probably does not have much care of how his behaviors impact someone else. That's because he did not have a father there to protect him. He did not have a father there to guide him. He didn't have a father there to show him the right things to do in life. Another word that I used to identify a father was he's a provider. And that's definitely another way our father's love is manifested through his provision, through the way he provides to us. Now, if you're familiar with like the Maslow hierarchy of needs. This is my psychological part. I'm speaking. If you're familiar with that, then you realize that there's 5 needs in our life that help us live, and not only help us live, but help us strive. There's physiological needs, which is basically the need for air, food, shelter, clothing, sleep, things of that nature. There's a safety need, just that personal security that we need as people in order to survive. There's a need to be loved and a need to belong. So that's that connection that we need to other people. and we find that within families. And there's a need for esteem. There's just that recognition that we need that builds our self-esteem and builds our self-respect as we develop from children to adults. And lastly, on that hierarchy of needs, there's a need for self-actualization, which is really just the desire to become the best possible version of ourselves. And I say all that to say is that if we understand a father's love, we understand that a father provides all the tools, he provides all the steps that it takes to meet those needs throughout our lives. Now, a lot of the time, it may not feel like it may not look like it, but if you think about it, it really is. He's really trying to meet those needs, and it's all done out of a father's love. Sometimes we say, Daddy may have worked too much, or maybe Daddy sent us to bed too early, or Daddy made us eat our vegetables. If you think about it, that meets that physiological need that we have in order to develop into healthy individuals from childhood into adulthood. There's times when I can remember my father would tell me, "Hey, don't leave the block. If you're gonna play outside, you have to play between this house and this house, so I can see you at all times." That's that safety that my father was trying to provide for me, and that's love. That's part of a father's love. It may not have felt like a father's love at the time. It may have felt like he was being tough on me, or he wouldn't let me play like I wanted to play. But that was a father's love. I remember times when my dad would brag on me with his friends, or he'll tell me to do something and show me off. That was my father's trying to meet that need of building my self-esteem. And though it was embarrassing at many times, it definitely was a part of the love that he was expressing to me. So I can go on and on and on about a father's love in a different way is manifested. But I think the important thing that I want to leave you with is that we have to kind of understand what a father's love looks like. It doesn't always look like a mother's love. It doesn't look like the love that we see on TV. Sometimes it doesn't look like a love that we read in storybooks, but it's the way a father's love. And the way he loves really guides us from childhood into adulthood.
Yeah, that's good. That is so good. I took a lot from what you said, and I know as we go into our next section, which will be our question and answers, um, I do want to kind of do like a quick recap of some things that you said because it made so much sense. And I've heard it preached so many times that the love of God and the love of the Father correlates. And you can see how people respond and how they act in different relationships because of the way that the love of the Father showed up or didn't show up. So that was something that I've heard before and I've even experienced. Um, what would you say? How would a person kind of get to the right relationship with God if they didn't have a relationship with their father? Like, what is the steps that they should take?
I mean, to get to the right relationship with God, I think is almost like any other relationship that we're trying to build. It definitely starts with spending time with Him.
Mm.
Uh, spending time and getting to know Him, building like an intimate relationship with God. So that probably pertains reading His Word, praying, communicating with Him. If I'm trying to build a relationship with you, communication is so important. I can't build a relationship without communicating. So our prayer life definitely have to be in place in order to build a relationship with our Heavenly Father. Reading His Word, getting to know what He desires for us and what He wants from us, is a way to build a relationship. So it's not much different than building relationship from human to human is getting to know a person and spending intimate, close time with them. I think that's the way we can build a closer relationship with God.
Awesome, 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 awesome. So as we go into our next section, question and answers. We're going to start with Jenny, then we'll have Fabiana, and then I will be last. But I did want to throw that question out after what you said, because I really enjoyed what you were saying, and it kind of reiterated some things that I've heard. So now we'll go with Jenny. Jenny, are you frozen? I think you might need to go out and come back in, Jenny, because I can't. We can't hear you. Okay, so while we're waiting for her to go out and come back in, we'll start with Fabiana.
Awesome, awesome food for thought, AB, about Father's love. We thank you for being that awesome Father. We thank you for allowing the Father God Himself to cover you and to appreciate the love of your Father. My first question is, what were your thoughts as you prepared to become a father?
You start with the hard one, the tough one. And I say it's hard for different reasons, because the way I became a father was maybe different than most. I shouldn't say most, but it was not the traditional way of becoming a father. So, in expectation of being a dad, when I had my son, this the just to be totally transparent, the mother of my son, we were not in like a deep relationship. We it was very early on in like the dating stages of the relationship. So she really didn't know me. I really didn't know her as an individual. So you can imagine, from just going straight from like those early stages of dating, getting to know someone, to you're expecting a child together. So for me, this is my first child, my only child. I kind of immediately switched from dating mode to daddy mode, and I don't know if it was a good thing or if it was a bad thing. But that's just the way my mind went. So of course, when my mind switched to daddy mode, like things like the romance and dating and all that stuff kind of went out the window for me. Not intentionally, but just because I started thinking of all the qualities that a dad must have, all the responsibilities that a dad must live up to, and I started to shift into that. So I mean, for me, expecting to be a dad, it was exciting, it was fun, it was enjoyable, but it was also scary, and it was also a little nerve wracking at the time, because I mean, it's your first time, and you're bringing a child into this world, and that's a whole lot of responsibility. So yeah, there was some pressure, but thank God I have had some good examples in my life of fathers and men, and I was mature enough at the time. I was at a mature age. I was doing okay in my career, that I knew that I was mature enough to be a good example for a child and to support a child. So it kind of leveled out the nervousness, and with the scariness, with my I guess my level of responsibility that I was already living up to. So it was definitely a mixture of feelings during that stage, just expecting to be a dad.
Rather, it came out of a good relationship, a marriage. No one is never prepared to be a parent. So
Mhm.
kudos to you that you put on your boots and pulled up your pants and did what you needed to do with the help
Yeah,
of your surroundings that helped train you up to where you needed to be.
yeah.
So, my second question is, as a father, do you now realize what your parents were trying to instill in you? And what are your thoughts now with your child?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, like the principles that my parents tried to teach me. or the same that I try to teach my son. Honesty, love, respect, integrity. All the principles are basically the same. Now, the method in which they taught me switch from the way I have to teach my son, because it's just a different time, different generation. They come from a different background. My parents were born and raised in Liberia, so the way they parent is not necessarily the way I can parent now. But when I think about it, the things that they were trying to teach me and the things I'm trying to teach my son are all the same. The characteristics of becoming a man, the qualities you need to live as a productive citizen in this society. All those things have stayed the same. Only the method has changed a little bit because some of the things that my parents did, I could probably get locked up for doing them now. But it was a different time. It was a different time in a different culture and everything. So, but yeah, I can definitely look back and think, okay, now I know why my mom wanted me to stay on this block and not go around the corner where they were selling drugs and shooting and all that stuff. It's not that she didn't want me to be cool or didn't want me to be down. She was protecting me. She was keeping me safe. Now I understand why mom would stand outside and call my name and embarrass me in front of the whole block because she know I needed limits on my behaviors. Because if she would just let me run loose, run wild, I can get myself in trouble. And these are some of the same things, the safety, the protection that I try to teach my son.
Awesome, awesome. I'm having a hard time with my screen here now. I'm going to let Andrea and
All
Jenny go
right, all
next.
right, all right. All right, all right, all right. So we're gonna get Jenny in here real quick. Come on, Jenny. Let's get your top three questions.
Love it. I'm having technical issues. I hope y'all can hear me.
We can.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, you good.
Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Yes,
Can you hear me?
yes, we can.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you can't hear us.
This has been so tremendous so far. I am full. I'm sure everyone else tuning in is as well. So, AB, oh, yes, yes, I can. There may be a delay, but yes, I can. Awesome, thank you. So AB, you started us off talking about father's love, and you added context, and it is true. We traditionally think of it as all the things, being a leader, disciplinarian, but we never think of it as that father being loving. So we thank you for breaking that down. To kind of go back, we want to go back in time. You shared with us earlier in the broadcast that your son, he's going to be 13 soon, and get ready because you are in for a treat. It's going to be an exciting time, I'm sure. But right now, we want to kind of go back in time and we want you.
Okay. I didn't hear that last part.
Father during time compared to now.
It's breaking
What
up
do you
real
enjoy
bad,
most
Jenny.
about being a father?
It's breaking up real bad. You might have to go out again and come back. I know it's a delay, so
Did, can't you just repeat the question and I could probably.
I don't think so because every time she talks, it's a breaking up.
Okay.
Can't hear you.
Now,
Could you?
I think she asked me about the most enjoyable part about being a father. I
Let's answer that. Go
heard
ahead.
bits and pieces of that. So, just to answer the question, you know, e- really everything about being a father to me is enjoyable. Like just watching my child grow, watching him mature, that's enjoyable. The responsibility of it all, even though
Yeah.
it's serious, but I love that part. Like knowing that I have someone that's watching my every step, who's really going to be a direct reflection of the type of man I am. Like I love that part about being a dad. I always say that my son is the best accountability partner I can have because I know he's watching me. I know he's tracking my every move. I know that I'm the example for him. So, in order for me to be a great example for him, I have to hold myself accountable. And the fact that I know that he's watching me, he holds me accountable. Like I often say, like having a child made me a man. Having a child really made me a man because some of the things that I used to do before becoming a father, I had to get rid of some of those behaviors. Some of the ways I used to
Mhm.
think, I had to really get rid of those behaviors. And I think that's probably one of the biggest surprises with fathers and fatherhood. Like we often think that we're going to be totally responsible for making sure that this child grows into adulthood, but we don't realize how much that this child is going to help us grow, how much this child
Mhm.
helps us mature, how much this child helps us become a better version of who we are as a man. And I think that's probably like the most enjoyable piece about being a dad. Like just watching him grow from a baby until adolescence and into manhood one day, and just watching the whole evolution of them. So I can't think of any any bad parts. There's some tough parts, but I love it all.
Oh, yes. Yes, 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 yes. All right, Fabian, I think you're unmuted. Let's see.
So my last question, AB, I'm not sure if you're a stepfather or whether you have to co-parent with the stepfather, but how would you view that as parenting, co-parenting with the stepfather figure?
No, I'm not a stepfather. Um, but if I the first thing, even if I had to be a stepfather, I give all respect and kudos to his mother because I know his mother is a wise, intelligent woman. So I know that she will not choose a man that's detrimental to our son's development, that's detrimental to
Okay.
anything, his health or anything. So that gives me comfort. That gives me security.
Mm.
That even if one day I become a stepfather, that I know his mom, will choose a good partner for herself, someone that's gonna like pour and feed to our son, and join what we already have and support it. So I have no worries about that at all. If that day comes, and the fact that I've been in my son's life and building a strong relationship with him since the day he came out of the womb, my spot is solidified as a father. So there's
Mm.
no concern if somebody else comes into the picture. I have no worries.
Yeah.
I know our connection, our love, our bond can't be broken by a stepfather. So I'm totally secure
I love
in
it.
line with that.
I love it. Yeah.
Love
That's
it.
one on. Yeah. Thanks,
That right
AB.
there. That right there is like the best answer um that I think a child and a father could hear. Um, so if your son ever gets to watch this, I know he will be proud. One of Jenny's questions that I would love to know about is how do you practice self care as a father? And I really want our audience and everyone watching by replay, thank you, viewers, hashtag replay. If you're watching this live, share it with a friend. If you're watching this live, share it with a friend. But there's so many different things that love institutes and that love kind of like gives off. And the one thing that I am I'm so happy about is the self-love movement, self-care movement. And even it's even going into our men, and they're becoming more aware of self-love and self-care. And I believe that is something that's very, very strong in fathers, and that needs to be in fathers in order for them to love anyone else. You know, sometimes you got to actually give that love back to yourself. So what do you practice? How do you practice self-care as a father?
I have things I enjoy, things that help me relax, things that keep me calm, things that help me to de-stress that I do on a daily or on a weekly basis, like exercising, just walking. I have certain areas where I live, where it's water, and just a lot of nature, where I can just go and walk and watch the birds, stuff like that. And I also socialize. I have friends. I have
That's
other
good.
fathers that we can get together, we talk, and I have friends that's not fathers that we can get together and just enjoy, some good clean fun together. So, the self care part is that's something I practice, and I've always practiced, because
That's good.
between work and fatherhood and other responsibilities in life, like, you can get stressed, you can get overwhelmed. So I definitely know when I'm starting to feel burnt out, and I know when it's time to sit down, relax, and unwind. So yeah, that's something I usually don't have a issue with. But yeah, those just everyday things that I inject in my life, just to help me relax.
Yes, I love walking by the water. When I move, I'm gonna miss having the lake and being able to just go outside and be near the water. That is one of my woosah moments. One of
Mm,
the things that I love to do as well.
yeah, I
Um,
love water.
we're gonna do a little shift.
Mhm.
So I kind of want to get into just some conversation, kind of like dialogue with you, and I really want you to kind of take this conversation on as a father and as a son. So what is the importance of having Black present fathers from a son's point of view and from a father's point of view?
Man, it's so important. I think a lot of us, we know the statistics. We hear the data of how when a black father is not present, how incarceration increases in a child's life, how the chance of
Yeah.
them, you know, being involved in some criminal activity increases. The way maybe substance abuse may increase. All these things like are directly related to a father being absent. Like, I can tell you just from personal experience, growing up, there was probably about 15 to 20 boys growing up on my block that we just all grew up together, played together, had fun. And so it probably spread between maybe 10 households. And out of those 10 households, it probably was two families where the father was present. Two
Mm,
or three. It was mine, my best friends, and another kid. And when I
mm,
look back on it, we are the only three, me, my brother, and these other two boys. We are the only three that never been incarcerated.
wow.
Um, Ended up getting some degrees, like further than high school, or even
Mm,
finishing high school, I should say, and going on to college and graduating, um, or I should say, are still alive. All of the other guys that grew up on a block without their fathers, and no exaggeration, like, they all was locked up at some point. They
wow.
all ended up going around that corner that I was talking about, in selling drugs, or getting involved in some type of criminal activity. And I think just the presence of the father in the household, deterred us from doing a lot of the stuff that we could have easily gravitated to. without a problem, because we were all friends. We all grew up together. We grew up in the same time, and was in influenced by the same environment. But I think the common denominator between us and the other guys is that we had our fathers in our lives.
Wow.
Mm.
Now that is some pretty heavy statistics. That is some things that I think if you're watching this and you're a father or you're a son or you're about to have a child, that is something to really, really think about and to kind of pay attention to the importance of being in your child's life. And even as a son, the importance of being in your father's life as well. Um, as we go to that father-son relationship, can you tell us like 5 key points to having a good relationship with your son?
5 key points. I would say the first point, especially with me, you have to be intentional on wanting to develop a relationship with your son. And that's something that was in my mind from day one. No matter what craziness that I maybe had to go through or what things might have upset me, I always kept in the forefront of my mind that my relationship with my son is most important. So I'm
Mm.
not going to say anything or do anything to that can potentially interfere with that. Whether it's something with my son's mom or whether it's with other family members. I always had to be intentional about developing a healthy and close relationship with my son. So I think you have to start there. Um, another key part really even comes before you have a son or before you have a daughter or before you have a child. And we don't always have a lot of control over it, but it definitely impacts the way we parent. And that's the type of family we came from. The
Mm.
parents that we had. Now I know that's not a decision that some people can make because are our parents. But you can still develop some good parenting skills even if you didn't have the best parents in the world. So
Mhm.
kind of like I was saying, I surrounded myself with some good mentors, some good men, other fathers that I can look at and go to for advice when I was confused or when I had questions, and they could help me in my journey as a father. Um, as far as with my son, communication is important. Communication is important. I talk to him. Even though he's a boy, just like me, he's not, and he's getting to those teenage years, so he's not very talkative. Just like his dad. But I always have to create the environment and the atmosphere where he feels safe enough to come to me and communicate.
Mm.
I'll ask him, "Hey, how was your day? Well, what was the best part of your day in school? What was the worst part of your day in school? Just to keep those lines of communication open.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I always say every child needs love and they need limits. And those two things I try to set for my son since he was a child. As he grows up, I show him all the love I can possibly show him, but I also set limits on him. Because kids, they will try to explore and they will try to test the waters. So you have to set boundaries for them, for their own safety, for their own
Yeah.
maturity. Because you're not always ready for what you think you're ready for at a certain age. So those boundaries do have to be set. So with the love also comes some enforcement as well.
Mhm.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. This is a good list, AB. I'm gonna go back through it real quick. Be intentional with developing a relationship with your child, son or daughter. Surround yourself with mentors. Communication is important. Keep those lines of communication open. Allow your child to actually respond to you. Listen. Every child needs love and limits. I think that's my favorite. I think that's probably why I still got it on the screen. Every child needs love and limits. I was talking to my brother about, I'm so thankful that my mom, I remember going over one of my friends' house one time, and my mom said, "Oh no, you're not coming over here again." Because she's seen the type of atmosphere, she's seen what was going on. And at the time, as a child, I thought she was mean and she wasn't being fair. But looking back on it and seeing the way that person is now, and the way that their life changed because of being in that environment, and seeing how my life is, I know that the limits and the love that my mom set for me were needed, and I'm grateful for it. I am so grateful for it. Um, I know there were many times when I called my mom and just said thank you. There were many times when I called my dad, and still to this day, I'm able to call my dad and just say thank you, because when you have a parent that gives you limits, they're giving you love. Love and limits go hand in hand as a child. And the last one, enforcement. One thing that I love about enforcement and having enforcement in a child's life, even in developing a relationship, is that you let them know, um, you let them know the boundaries and the extension and the openness of your relationship. Enforcement doesn't always have to be stern, but it does have to be communicated, and it does have to be continual and consistent. I love
Mhm.
these 5 points. This has been so amazing. I am so happy about this discussion. I think we've covered so much. And I don't know if Fabiana has another question before we get ready to end, but let me know, Fabiana, before we let him do some closing words. Okay, she said no. Okay. So again, AB, I can't say thank you enough. I know I asked you about doing this I think sometime last month. And when I thought about present fathers, when I thought about people, men who were, doing the right thing as a father, I thought about you initially. I love your relationship with your son. I love just some of the things that you are able to show us on social media, and even some of the things that you do that aren't broadcasted. I really, really appreciate your love out loud for your son. I can't tell you uh, that you need to stop. I would say do more. show more show more, because the world needs to see present fathers,
Mhm.
especially present Black fathers. I think that's one of the things
Yeah.
that I have just really, 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 really made it my mission, is to show more present fathers. All of my brothers are very present fathers in their children's life. My dad, of course, is very present in his life. And it didn't start like that. It didn't start like that. His dad, wasn't as present. And I think because of that, my dad made a decision. And because of that, it did birth a burden in me, from because my mom and my dad didn't have present dads, but they did establish a relationship with God. They did, get to the point where they were able to become what they didn't have. That's something that I see a lot, even in, the upside of sometimes not having a present father, is sometimes you do everything that your father didn't do. And I thank God that my parents were definitely products of that. So, AB, if you could say any last words to someone who is becoming a father, to someone who is struggling in their fatherhood, to someone who hasn't felt the love of a father, what would you say?
Um, I would definitely say when it comes to fathers and fatherhood, like we have the ability to start a generational curse, or we can be a generational blessing. So you definitely have to make your choice on which way you want to go. If you want to leave a legacy for your children, for the grandchildren, something to remember you by, or you want to instill some positive things inside of them, you want to be a generational blessing to them. Like even like you were saying, even if you did not have that example, for you to follow, there's people out there that you can reach out to. There's people you can talk to. There's books you can read. There's so many different ways where you can just develop your skills as a father. And really, like, it's one of the most rewarding things. It is the most rewarding things I've ever done in my life. So I would encourage any man that's running away from that responsibility, please, like, take inventory of what you're missing
Yes.
out of. Take inventory on the impact that it can have on your child, and just stand up to that responsibility and enjoy the journey.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So now we're like as we do come to an end. Can you tell the people where they can reach you, where they can get your book, and how they can get in touch with you?
Yep, you can find me on social media, on my YouTube page, my Instagram page at Ready for Relationship Consulting, and my website. You can also purchase my two books on my website, which is also readyforrelationship.com. That's the number 4. You can purchase it there. One book is called Ready for a Relationship, and the other book is From Relational Hurt to Spiritual Healing. And if you're on Facebook, you can find me right here on my personal page under AB Bracewell. So can reach out to me, stay connected. Those are the ways you can find me.
Awesome, 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 awesome. So as we come to an end, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you guys for being a part. Um, Thank you to my two amazing co-hosts and you in the comments. We thank you as well. If you're watching this by replay, hashtag replay. We will have another father in the next on June 22nd. So be looking out for us. So come back with us, and we love you. We thank you for watching. And remember, don't stop having the tough conversations. You're one conversation away from living the life of your dreams. Bye-bye.